Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, April 18, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamp that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we need to take a look at the hurricane season outlook that was issued by the weather company, or the atmospheric G2, basically the same company that runs the Weather Channel US that we always post. And they've stated that there are going to be up to 19 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. And just for reference, Colorado State University said that there would have been 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. So we see that they've upped the storms for the weather company, and mind you, the average storms we usually get per season is about 14, average hurricanes about 7, and about 3 in terms of the major hurricanes. So definitely in line with what Colorado State University is saying, and above normal hurricane season is expected, and that's because of the sea surface temperatures expected across the Atlantic, as well as the lack of El Nino across the eastern to central Pacific. You know, El Nino has a lot to do with what takes place in the Atlantic with all of the upper level wind shear. On another note, I need to highlight this post that was made here by Andy Hazelton. He is actually a scientist at the National Weather Service, and although he works at NOAA, he makes some accurate posts about the hurricane season, although he doesn't want us to, say that it is a representation of what NOAA is talking about. But we have to take these tweets sometime. He stated, recent runs of the CFS, that's the climate forecast system, climate model, have backed off any suggestion of an El Nino this summer and are leaning toward Enzo staying neutral, probably cool neutral. As a result, it's showing low shear across much of the Atlantic and Caribbean, while other factors will likely slow the basin down, such as the cooler MDR promoting stability or sinking. We'd have to watch favorable rising windows like MGO passages for a threat with a background shear pattern like that. And these are the maps that he's highlighting. The fact that majority of the supercomputer model spaghetti model plots are staying somewhere in the neutral pattern, not really going way above, which would signal El Nino, not really going way below, which would signal La Nina. So it's definitely neutral, and he's stating that it could even be cool neutral. And if you remember, we had neutral like conditions when we had Hurricane Beryl last year, so we can definitely get some formidable systems. And he also highlighted this map. The blues represent the lack of wind shear, the reds represent strong wind shear. We can see that much of the Atlantic is going to be shaded, and the blues represent little to no wind shear, so the storms are going to be having an easy time to develop. But what he's also saying is that the cooler than average sea surface temperatures across the main development region could hinder some of the development, but we see that most of the Atlantic should still be warmer than average by the time we head into September 2025. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what unfolds, so stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here as we go out to the next 168 hours. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That is the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Saturday morning, what do we see on the Euro? Not really much of anything across Jamaica. There's some dust of grains across the northeast. We also see an abundance of moisture extending from the waters to the north of the eastern Caribbean. all the way down to portions of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola to the south of Hispaniola, extending all the way down to the southwestern Caribbean. And then by Saturday afternoon, we still see some isolated showers across section of some northern parishes. That's what the GFS is showing for the same time period. Saturday morning, northeastern parishes with the isolated showers. Saturday afternoon, something similar in the same areas. What does Sunday morning have in store for us? Sunday morning, we can see some isolated showers still affecting portion of northeastern Jamaica on the Euro. The GFS showing that there should be rainfall across the eastern, central, and western parishes on Sunday afternoon. What does the GFS show? Sunday morning, northeastern parishes with that rainfall. Sunday afternoon, still northeastern parishes with the rainfall and trying to incorporate section of some southwestern parishes. Very interesting. What does Monday morning have in store for us? We see some isolated showers across northern parishes and eastern parishes. Then Monday afternoon, it's more so central and eastern parishes getting in on that rainfall. What does the latest GFS show? Monday morning, not really much of anything, just a speck of green across Portland. Then Monday afternoon, not really showing much of anything at all. What does Tuesday morning have in store for us? On Tuesday morning, we can see that there's not much of anything. We see the whites across the entire island that represent little to no rainfall. Tuesday afternoon, something similar, definitely dry times coming. The GFS, however, is showing some rainfall across northeastern Jamaica on Tuesday morning. Then on Tuesday afternoon, we still see that northern Jamaica should be getting on some isolated shores, so we have some differences there. What does Wednesday morning have in store for us? Wednesday morning, we see rainfall to our west, we see rainfall to our east. Then on Wednesday afternoon, we see some specks of greens that represent some isolated shores across sections of eastern and central Jamaica. What does the latest GFS show for the same time period? 7 a.m. on Wednesday shows rainfall across northern and eastern parishes. And then by the end of the day on Wednesday, we see rainfall not only affecting portion of northeastern Jamaica, but southern and western parishes. Very interesting. What does Thursday morning have in store for us? Thursday morning, still rainfall across northeastern parishes. Thursday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the latest GFS show for Thursday morning? Northern parishes getting in on that rainfall. Thursday afternoon, eastern, central, and western parishes too. Then we're going to be stopping it right here on Friday. This is valid for April 25, 2025. We see rainfall to our west, we see rainfall to our east. What on the Euro, what does the GFS show for the same time period? Definitely much of the same. Lots of rainfall dancing around us to our west, to our north, to our east. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. And I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps over the next 7 days from the Euro and the GFS Supercomputer model, we can clearly see that the most in the way of rainfall over the next 7 days is represented by the dark reds, purples into the pinks, and we can see that most of that should be across the waters to the northeast of the Caribbean, sections of northern South America, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, and we clearly see that it's not only the Euro that's showing this, but the GFS trying to incorporate portions of the northeastern Caribbean with the tremendous rainfall anywhere from Jamaica northward, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda. Sections of the Leeward Islands to the west of Antigua and Barbuda could get on some of the rainfall too that could trigger somewhat of isolated flash flooding, but we can clearly see the greens into the yellows into the oranges and the reds. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall that could be expected for portions of the Bahamas, Haiti, Dominican Republic, northern and eastern Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Puerto Rico, anywhere from Martinique southward, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, the ABC Islands, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, the eastern Yucatan. We can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS are in agreement with that forecast, so the chances are higher for it to occur. But we're going to be focusing our attention on Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation. And as stated in yesterday's video, central and western parishes not getting in on much. We see the blues that represent anywhere from 1 millimeter of rainfall to at least 15 millimeters of rainfall, while it's the northeast that's going to be getting in on the brunt of the rainfall, anywhere from St. Ann eastward, St. Ann, St. Mary, Portland, sections of maybe northeastern St. Andrew, northern St. Thomas. We see the greens into the yellows into the oranges that represent anywhere from 15 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to that figure that we see there, that's 69 millimeters of rainfall across Portland. The GFS is a bit more robust. Yesterday it was definitely less than this, but it's going up to at least 72 millimeters of rainfall. The people of Portland are going to be happy, or if they're already tired of the rainfall, we'll see it actually plays out. We know that they're getting most of that rainfall from that northeasterly flow. Whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here off the east coast of the US, another ridge of high pressure right here to the west of the Azores Island. That we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And we can see a frontal system and a trough that's induced into a portion of the northeastern Caribbean as we speak. We can also see another trough right here to the north of the Cabo Verde Islands, and to the north of that trough we see a tail end of a frontal system. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of the entities that we just mentioned. The clouds associated with the trough to the north of the Cabo Verde Island, the frontal system to the north of that. We see the clouds associated with the other frontal system and trough that has induced into a portion of the northeastern Caribbean. And we can make out the low to mid-level flow of the clouds being steered from east to west, all courtesy of the ridges of high pressure to the north of the basin. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Good Friday, April 18, 2025. It was stated that rainfall would have been or could have been in the forecast for parts of northeast Jamaica as well as southwest Jamaica. I know northeast Jamaica, we're basically talking about St. Ann, St. Mary, Portland. Southwest Jamaica could include maybe Mandeville, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And what ended up happening? The visible satellite image was actually posted at around that time. Let's find it. And it was highlighting some clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers across sections of Jamaica. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but they're also made on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So the visible satellite image that was posted at around 4:01 p.m. highlighted some clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, especially across sections of Portland right here. Maybe some overcast skies, maybe a drop of rainfall across sections of St. Elizabeth. Let's see if it got even more robust as the afternoon progressed into the evening. We can definitely see that northeasterly flow, and definitely nothing too robust. It was sunny for the most part across the entire island. We see the clouds right here across the southwest to signal what the Euro was showing. Definitely came to fruition for sure. Infrared close-up satellite images not showing much of anything at all. Don't see blues, greens, yellows, oranges. The rest represent convection or cumulonimbus clouds. All we saw today was just the milky whitish shade. And it makes sense that the live camera here from C Jamaica's YouTube channel at around 1 p.m. highlighted that we were indeed getting in some sunny conditions across the Bogwalk Gorge. We can see the water is still murky from the rainfall earlier this week. This should change as we head into the drier pattern expected this weekend into next week. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit C Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map paints quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall today, especially across section of the northeast, Portland for sure, in the hills, the mountains, and that speck of purple across section of St. Elizabeth with the cloud down there. And we have the comment right here, one here from Active481 stating cool, and we have Mullen_1 God _ stating windy. And if we take a look at what's happening right now, the latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, what is it showing? The latest still image is showing 0015 UTC, which is actually 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 5, 10, 12 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:27 p.m. now. And we don't see much of anything across the island. Some clouds to the north of Portland, some clouds to the south of Westmoreland. That's basically it. Doubt there is any rainfall within those clouds at all. The latest Doppler radar imagery from the Cuban radar site is showing up to 6:20 p.m., which is actually 5:20 p.m. Jamaica time. Not really seeing much of anything at that time though. Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery not showing much of anything across eastern Cuba, the western peninsula of Haiti or Jamaica. Definitely dry times these days. Even the Cayman radar not showing much of anything across the Cayman Islands as we speak. Cuba, the Cayman Islands, western Jamaica, all in the clear. The live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel shows that halfway through is definitely dry. Definitely going to be fair tonight as well. You can see people walking about, going about their business. You can also see people in their vehicles going about their business, and that should be the order of the night given the lack of bad weather. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should be down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday. And we can see the abundance of blues that represents below normal temperatures across much of the Bahamas, the Western Caribbean, the Greater Antilles right here. That's what we want to see, cooler than average temperatures. We can see mostly average temperatures across the Central to the Eastern Caribbean. Well, we see Jamaica embedded in some of the blues, so we should be getting at least down to 1 degree Celsius below normal temperature for Saturday. I know the normal temperature for the month of April across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit. When that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So you should be receiving anywhere from 30 to 31 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Saturday. And we know that the cooler than average temperatures are definitely going to be felt the most in the early morning hours. And we're indeed grateful that JPS is not going to be doing any maintenance outages for Saturday, April 19. Either way, if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot to you, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. Dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of keeping hydrated throughout the day. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots of water and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can see the abundance of dry air across the entire Atlantic basin. The dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain, making it harder for us to get storms this time of year. You can see Jamaica embedding a lot of reds. It's not like the past couple of weeks where we've been getting a lot of yellows that represent the low end of the scale in terms of dry air, or some of the blues. We're starting to get some drier patterns now, but we see that the most moist areas across the Eastern Pacific's intertropical convergence zone and the Atlantic's intertropical convergence zone as well. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 1 p.m. on Saturday, we can see the browns represent the Saharan dust extending from Europe, Asia, Africa across portion of the main development region into the southeastern Caribbean and northern South America. And we're indeed grateful that by the time most of the dust gets into the Caribbean, it has dwindled down. We see the lighter shades of brown that represents a 1 to 10 in the dust concentration, and we see the most dust concentration over here in Africa. And we're glad it's remaining over there because we know that that can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger somewhat of respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're glad that we're over here in all the clear. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, waves are definitely picking up across portions of the Bahamas, Greater Antilles, Southwestern Caribbean and the Gulf. We see the purples into the pinks are representing from 2 to 3 meter wave heights, and that's because of the winds that are expected. Look at the strong winds. The ridge of high pressure to the north is definitely sending that northeasterly flow and then curving it around into the Gulf, as we can see here. Windward passage definitely sending a lot of strong winds into portion of northern Jamaica even as we speak. So it makes sense. We see bright greens into the yellows here that represents anywhere from 15 to 20 to 25 knot winds. And regarding Jamaica's wind forecast, we see the wind should be coming in from the northeast tomorrow, averaging 21 knots right here to the northeast of Portland. Same right here on the northwest, southern side, up to 20 knots as well. So it makes sense that the waves are going to be high too. Up to 2.1 meter wave heights on the north coast. On the south coast, up to 1.5 meter wave heights. But closer to the southwest coast, it should be less than that, where we see the lighter shades of blues right here. And we see the upper level winds still coming in from the west. So if we get convection, we know those high cloud tops will be blown out towards the east. But regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, both maps here from the year and the GFS are showing that by about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 6 a.m. Jamaica time, we have some slight shades of blues that represent some isolated shores that could be affecting portion of Portland, St. Anne, St. Mary. We see that both of these maps are, showing consensus. Regarding the afternoon at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we see that northeastern parishes still should be getting on that rainfall, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. And we're starting to incorporate portion of some southern and western parishes. We see sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Southern Clarendon highlighted. We see the waters to the south of St. Catherine, south of Manchester, south of Clarendon, south of St. Elizabeth, even portion of St. Elizabeth highlighted. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted. Because we can see here that the total accumulated precipitation over the next 24 hours from the Euro and the GFS, let's see, I'm trying to find the total accumulated. Where is it? Well, it doesn't seem like it wants to show me that. Looks more like it now. So this is the total accumulated precipitation, and we can clearly see that the most rainfall over the next 24 hours should be affecting portion of the northeast. We see the Euro going up to at least 0.44 of an inch of rainfall, GFS only up to 0.26 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And whatever happens, we'll take it. We're in the month of April. We're starting to ramp up in terms of the rainfall that we usually receive per year. Just coming out of the dry season, and we can see that in Kingston, this bar graph is being shown right here at the top. We usually receive close to 40 millimeters of rainfall for the month of April. In Montego Bay, this bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom. We usually receive close to 4 inches of rainfall for the month of April. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus your attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a trough affecting portion of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and the usual thunderstorm activity across portion of Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, we can confirm some of the rainfall that portions of Puerto Rico definitely getting in on as we speak. Waters to the southwest of Puerto Rico definitely getting nailed. Northern and western Puerto Rico getting nailed on some isolated shores. And if we load these images from earlier today, you can see that southern and western Puerto Rico are definitely getting nailed with some moderate to heavy rainfall, especially in the yellows there. We can also see some isolated shores that were affecting portions of Martinique, St. Martin, sections of Guadeloupe as well. Regarding Barbados radar, I don't see much happening across Barbados right now. Just some specks of some isolated heat or mist showers coming in from the east. We also see some of that coming through Tobago, maybe Trinidad in the southwest. And regarding the weather wave Doppler radar images, we can make out that rainfall across portion of northwestern Venezuela, Colombia, Guyana, Suriname as well. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps here from the year and the GFS are adamant that the most rainfall should be affecting portion of the northeastern Caribbean within the next 24 hours. Talking about Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, section of Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, section of Dominica, section of Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana, with some isolated shores expected for a section of Belize, eastern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, eastern Jamaica or northeastern Jamaica, northern and eastern Cuba, central and southern Bahamas, section of the Dominican Republic, anywhere from Antigua and Barbuda southward. We're talking about Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago for sure. And we clearly see that both the year and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.